Give it up, give it up, give it up.
Tomorrow was judgment day. And I'm standing on the front line. And the Lord asked me what I did with my life. I would say I spend it with you.
Nancy Metayer Bowen was 38, the vice mayor of Coral Springs, a history-making Haitian-American woman who didn't just sit at the table. She earned her seat in a system that rarely saves one for women like her. And she was hours away from announcing the next move in a career that was finally gaining the traction it deserved. Until April 1st, 2026 turned into something straight out of a nightmare dressed up as protocol. Because while the city slept, a wellness check by Coral Springs Police Department ended with Nancy lying inside her own home, riddled with bullets. Her story cut short not by crime in the streets, but by the very people sworn to serve and protect. And Steven Bowen, her 40-year-old husband, the man who was supposed to be the closest witness to her life, didn't have answers, didn't have accountability. He had distance. Because while the headlines were still forming and her family was still trying to breathe through shock, Steven wasn't missing. He ran. Welcome to the American Crime Femicide channel. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for future uploads.
Who was your biggest influence growing up and even now?
My grandma.
Okay.
My grandma is the one who taught me international affairs while she was braiding my hair in the 90s. Remember a lot of the exile and the turmoil that was happening in Haiti. She actually broke that down to me. Like, she was my first political, my black political. She explained to me what exile was, and she's super smart. She has taught me very great parables. I fell in love with the environment through her. She would tell me things like, hey, you know, when a child is born in Haiti, their umbilical cord is buried and a tree is put on top of it, and that, you know, your roots are always there, and then you look at this tree and that's basically giving back to the earth in some type of way. So it's like a way of, you not only are part of this environment, but you contribute to it as well. So when we talk about how we give back, how we treat our environment, I learned that from my grandmother.
That's great.
She actually swore me in
Wow.
in Haitian Creole. She did that for me because, again, we sit on the shoulders of giants, and I just wanted to show a full circle of how she's inspired me and how she's actually contributed to my career. So that was very important to me. Her English is not the greatest, but she could tell you everything that's going on CNN. Like, she'll call me, we'll talk about it now. She got her citizenship. And so our tradition is that we vote together always, right? We'll go together, we'll print our ballot out, and we'll do our candidate search. We'll have conversations about each candidate. We may not agree on them all the time, but we have those conversations, which candidate is better for our community. But I truly got it from her. My father is very involved, and our family is very involved in Haitian politics. So people like to say it's in my blood. So
Yeah, you grew up around it.
Right.
Nancy wasn't just building a resume. She was building a legacy in real time. The kind of legacy people love to clap for in public, but sometimes resent in private. She was first-generation Haitian-American, the daughter of parents who came from Haiti and built a life in South Florida. And Nancy took that foundation and ran with it. Florida A&M for undergrad, Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health for her master's degree in environmental health sciences. And she didn't collect those degrees just to hang them on a wall and pose beside them. She put them to work. Before she was even 30, Nancy had already interned with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, worked in the office of former U.S. Senator Bill Nelson, and walked into the Obama White House as an intern. A first-generation American moving through some of the most powerful rooms in the country, not because somebody handed her a seat, but because she earned her way in. Then, instead of disappearing into some polished career where she could keep her head down and collect titles, she came back home and got to work where people actually needed her. Haiti relief efforts, environmental programs for young people, community engagement in Tamarack, Broward County government work. Nancy wasn't chasing cameras. She was doing the kind of work that usually gets ignored until somebody needs clean water, disaster support, youth programs, or someone in power who actually knows what the policy says. In 2017, she ran for the Broward County Soil and Water Conservation District, a position most people couldn't explain if you gave them a microphone and 3 tries. Nancy ran for it anyway, and won, because that was her pattern. Step into the places people overlook, master the details, and turn quiet work into real influence. Then in 2020, Bowen made history. She ran for the Coral Springs City Commission in a city of more than 130,000 people and became the first Black and Haitian-American woman ever elected to that body. Not the first in that decade, not the first in a certain district, the first in the city's entire history. Nobody had done it before her.
Hi, my name is Nancy Metayer Bowen, and I am the Vice Mayor of the City of Coral Springs. I ran for office because I believe representation matters. Our communities deserve leaders who reflect their lived experiences and who will fight to make government more accountable, transparent, and fair. For me, good governance means putting people first, listening, engaging, and making decisions that serve the public, not politics. I'm also deeply passionate about protecting our environment. Growing up in Florida, I've seen firsthand the impacts of flooding, rising costs, and climate change on families. I ran to ensure we have resilient solutions that safeguard our health, our homes, and our future. At the heart of it all, I stepped up to serve so every voice is heard, every family has opportunity, and our communities thrive for generations to come.
And once she got in, she didn't sit pretty and play politician for photo ops. She worked. 4 years later, in 2024, she ran again. And this time, nobody even challenged her. In a city that large, not one person stepped up to run against her. That tells you exactly how much weight her name carried. Nancy served on 10 community boards at the same time, because apparently one schedule was not enough for a woman determined to be everywhere change was happening. She led Coral Springs on environmental sustainability, pushed to establish a sustainability department within the city, joined international organizations dedicated to environmental issues, fought for reproductive rights and healthcare access, and handled the fine print that doesn't trend online but touches people's lives every single day. Local water policy, conservation, climate resilience, the boring stuff that becomes very important when the wrong people ignore it. She was vice chair of Haitian-American voter engagement for the Florida Democratic Party. She had recently been hired as program manager for Miami-Dade's Climate Ready Tech Hub, a federally funded office focused on climate resilience and private sector innovation. Nancy wasn't just moving up, she was accelerating. She had quietly started telling people she was ready for the next step. Not city commission, not county office, Congress. The announcement was set for April 2nd, 2026. April 2nd never came for her, because while Nancy was preparing to step into a national spotlight, the man who was supposed to be standing beside her was allegedly unraveling behind closed doors. Steven was of Jamaican descent, had a resume that read like discipline on paper. Chief Operating Officer of Men of St. Luke, a faith-based nonprofit in Broward County. CEO listed on business records. Certified radiologic technologist working at Delray Medical Center, tied to a Masonic lodge and even a competitive shooting club. Titles, affiliations, organizations, the kind of polished packaging that makes people assume stability, values, control. And for about 4 years of marriage, that image held. From the outside, he and Nancy looked aligned, traveling, attending events, smiling in photos, moving like a couple building something together. She spoke about him warmly. She seemed proud. And everyone around them, shocked, because nothing in plain view suggested anything was breaking beneath the surface. But the truth about these stories is the outside can look like glass, while the inside is already splintering. Because while Steven had titles, Nancy had trajectory. She was the vice mayor of Coral Springs. She was historic, celebrated. Her name carried weight beyond Broward County, campaign stages, political rooms, conversations with people who moved policy and power. She was ascending in a way that didn't ask for permission, and by every public measure, she was outgrowing the space around her. And with a congressional announcement set for the next morning, that rise was about to become national. According to those close to her, that was the problem. Steven allegedly couldn't accept the pace, the spotlight, or the environments her success pulled him into. He knew she was in politics when he married her, but allegedly underestimated how far she intended to go, and once Congress became real, that ambition reportedly turned into resentment, because some men love potential, but struggle with reality when it starts eclipsing them. And while that tension was building, Nancy was still carrying grief, mourning her brother Donovan, a survivor of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting, while balancing public service, private pressure, and a future she was actively stepping into. She didn't slow down. She didn't retreat. She kept showing up, kept working, kept pushing forward, unaware that in her own home, something was quietly unraveling. But as April came near, there was allegedly one person who wasn't interested in seeing Nancy take that next step to Congress, Steven, and on April 1st, that resentment turned permanent. Concern started quietly. Nancy missed meetings that Wednesday morning. One official received a text from her around 8 a.m. titled Discussion Items, and then nothing. No response. No follow-up. Calls went unanswered. When they reached out to Steven, he claimed she wasn't picking up, then oddly added, "Where is she? Her car is not at home." And just like that, the story was already off. Because while everyone else was alarmed, the one person who should have had answers was offering confusion. When officers from the Coral Springs Police Department arrived at the home in Coral Springs, they found no cars in the driveway and no response from inside. Repeated attempts to reach Steven went nowhere, but the house itself started talking. A detective searching the exterior noticed explosive-like damage on the second floor, damage consistent with force coming from inside. This wasn't a missed appointment. Something violent had already happened. Around 10 a.m., Steven allegedly fled to his uncle's house and admitted he did something to his wife, revealing she was not alive. Pressed for details, he reportedly confessed to shooting her and covering up her body, then, in the same breath, tried to hand off a gun bag, warning his uncle he'd need gloves to even touch it. When asked why, the answer stayed the same. He couldn't take it anymore. Just a day earlier, he had told his mother he had a panic attack at work and needed to talk to Nancy that night. By the next day, she was dead inside the home they shared. By early afternoon, police spotted Steven in a nearby parking lot in Plantation, handing off what appeared to be a firearm case to a fellow Freemason who had no idea what he was being pulled into. When officers moved in, Steven reportedly shouted, "OS, they're here for me." Minutes later, another relative called police confirming he had confessed that morning. A SWAT team entered the home, and upstairs, in a second-floor bedroom, they found Nancy, shot multiple times with a shotgun, wrapped in blankets, and a garbage bag. Investigators say Steven used a pillowcase as a makeshift silencer before firing 3 rounds, then left her there and went downstairs to sleep. Inside the blankets, police recovered spent shotgun shells. A preliminary exam showed a wound to her left shoulder, and when asked again why, the answer never changed. He couldn't take it anymore.
Earlier today, April 1st, 2026, we initiated an investigation into the well-being of Vice Mayor Nancy Metayer Bowen at approximately 10 a.m. this morning. The investigation, through investigative techniques, we arrived at her residence at around the 800 block of Northwest 127th Ave. Once at the residence, we did locate the body of a deceased black female that we identified as Vice Mayor Nancy Metayer Bowen. This is being investigated as a domestic violence incident. Her husband, Steven Bowen, is in our custody. There are no additional suspects at this time, and there are no immediate threats to anyone in the public.
Mr. Bowen, good morning, sir.
Steven Bowen was the first person on the docket in bond court. Bowen is charged with premeditated murder and tampering with fabricated evidence after police found his wife, the vice mayor of Coral Springs, dead inside her home. It happened during a welfare check on Wednesday. Bowen has been appointed a public defender.
And just like that, the woman who was supposed to be announcing her run for Congress the next morning became a case file instead. Steven now sits in Broward County Jail, charged with first-degree premeditated murder and evidence tampering, held without bond. The system moved fast this time. Arrest, charges, containment, efficiency after the fact. But for Nancy's family, none of that restores anything. It doesn't bring her back. It doesn't undo the months of grief they were already carrying after losing Donovan. It doesn't answer how something like this builds quietly behind closed doors until it explodes into something permanent. Because that's the part nobody wants to sit with. The signs don't get taken seriously until they turn fatal. The pressure, the resentment, the unraveling. It all exists long before the headlines do. And now a city is left mourning a woman who did everything right, while her story ends the same way too many do. Not with the future she was about to step into, but with a man who decided he couldn't exist in it. May Nancy Metayer Bowen rest in peace.